Now, you might say, well, what's the point of doing this great long course just for snoring? Everyone snores, don't they? How can you change that? Well, let me tell you, if you do the Buteyko course with me this week just for your snoring, you'll turn your life around from going directly in the direction of loud, noisy snoring, sleeping in separate rooms from your partners, dry mouth, feeling pretty lousy, yucky, more mucus and all that sort of stuff in the morning. And then it gets worse. So it starts to now affect the quality of your sleep. So now you're tired during the day as well, despite, sleeping for hours. You're now sleepy, you can't concentrate, you're a danger to yourself and others on the roads. Plus, now you're off to the sleep clinic and the dollar's involved there, and then you've got a CPAP machine, replacement mask, and on for the rest of your life. You're more prone to colds, flu, hay fever, bronchitis, all these other conditions. You'll turn your life around to sleeping and breathing quietly. Maybe sleeping with your partner again. Okay? Getting a better quality sleep. Never, ever, ever going near all that sleep clinic rigmarole stuff. More energy during the day. Better sporting performance. Less prone to colds, fever, hay fever, bronchitis, all these other respiratory conditions. More energy. Now, snoring leads to a more serious condition called sleep apnea. And apnea is a Greek word meaning pause. And pause is where we stop for a short period of time. People with sleep apnea stop breathing for a short period of time, many times during the night often. And often the person with sleep apnea isn't the first person to detect it. Often it's their partner. They hear all this noise during the night of snoring and suddenly there's silence. And there's a gasp. And there's a noise of snoring and there's silence. And there's a gasp. And they become concerned. My partner has stopped breathing at night. Are they going to start breathing? Start breathing, please. So fortunately, they always do. But the person with sleep apnea starts to feel it because they've got the quality of their sleep. It may not be sleep apnea, it might be just disturbed sleep. But the quality of your sleep, you're tired during the day. 8 o'clock at night, you're looking for bed. 8 o'clock at night's way too early. You're sleepy during the day, you struggle driving the car. I don't need to go on about sleep problems. I'm sure you're aware of them. So, if you trot off to the doctor says, you snore at night, you're tired during the day, you've probably got sleep apnea. Didn't you know there's an epidemic of it going around in Australia? So they sign you up for a sleep clinic. We've got to study it. We'll study it and then we'll fix you. So you go off and have a sleep study. How many people have had a sleep study here? How many's had more than one? Okay. Anyone booked in for one? Hasn't had it yet? Okay, good. So we go off to a sleep clinic. Do you know, 10 years ago there was only one sleep clinic in Australia at the Epworth Hospital in Richmond. Now there's over 120. We have more per capita. We lead the world. But then, of course, there was a gentleman in Sydney that discovered a machine and started working for a company, and now they're the biggest company in the world in this area. So off we go to the sleep clinic. And here they measure our sleep. Lots of science involved in sleep. So they wire you up, right? Because all the electrical charges that go on while you're sleeping in your brain. So they wire you up and they put stuff on your legs to measure any leg movements. And they measure your oxygen on your finger or here. Okay? And they measure your sleep. If you can get to sleep with all that stuff on you. And then they measure the frequency and duration of any apnea. How often you stop breathing, for how long. And the other thing they measure is, I don't know whether you're aware, but they say there's 5 stages of sleep. That when we sleep, we cycle through these different stages. Lots of science involved in sleep. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 REM, rapid eye movement. And of course they say that the best quality sleep comes from the time you spend in the non-REM deep stages, in other words, 3 and 4 stage, okay? So then they give you a report, you've got mild, severe or very severe sleep apnea. Now if you've got mild and you're lucky, they might say stop smoking, lose a bit of weight. Anyone heard that? Yeah. So if someone does happen to have a few extra kilos and they lose a substantial amount of kilos, it can improve their sleep apnea. Have you heard that? most people have something called obstructive sleep apnea, OSA. There is an obstruction in your airways, usually in your neck, where it blocks up. An obstruction. Stop breathing, breathing. Get the idea? Stop breathing. Air can't get through. Breathing. OSA. 97% of people with sleep apnea supposedly have OSA. There's a small proportion have central sleep apnea. And they say that some people have a combination. Now, what they used to offer people with this is an operation. Chop out this bit, okay? Thankfully, they don't do that anymore. All right, very rarely. So, what they offer most people with severe or very severe sleep apnea is to use a CPAP machine, a constant positive air pressure, CPAP. How many people here are using a CPAP machine? Every night? When you can? Never. Okay. All right. What is a CPAP machine is a mask that fits over your nose with a tight seal. Okay, so no air can leak. There's a tube fitted to a pump that blows air under pressure into your nose as you breathe at night. They're called N-CPAP. They should be nasal. There are some full-face ones, but they should be nasal. Sometimes there's air tubes that go straight into your nasal passages. Now, and what happens is it blows air under pressure, constant positive air pressure. This is the way it works. Here's your body stopping breathing at night. You turn on the CPAP machine and get the idea? Constant all the time, positive, that direction. Air pressure holds your air tubes apart, stops it from blocking. Get it? Provides what they call a pneumatic splint. Okay? Dilation by air pressure, however you want to hear it. Now, here's our happy couple here with their his and her CPAP machines. Okay. Now, many people find these things very uncomfortable. They're obviously very intrusive at night. You know, they can make a noise, they can disturb partners, you can bump them, you get a blast of air. But there's new models coming out all the time. You can upgrade and buy new models, variable speed, humidifiers. They can be very, very expensive, let alone the replacement parts that you have to do. But if you can use them, they will stop the apnea occurring and allow you to get down to deeper sleep and you get a better quality sleep. Okay? But the problem is, people find that they are now dependent on a CPAP machine. Okay? They don't even pretend it's going to get better, but it just stops it happening and allows you to sleep. Now, and in fact what happens is in time, maybe 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, it doesn't work as well. They start to still get tired even using the CPAP machine. Often it gets torn off during the night. And the reason is, if it's not working as well after a while, it means it needs adjusting. There's one adjustment on a CPAP machine. It's the force of the air blowing at night. Guess which way it has to get adjusted in time? Only ever stronger, yeah. Do you know what your pressure is, sir? Do you know what your pressure is of your CPAP? About 9. That's good. Okay. Often they start at 4 to sometimes 4 to 6, but often 6 to 8. Then they go to 8 to 10, and then 10 to 12, and I've had people up in the 20s even. Very strong pressure. And the reason is, in time, the CPAP machine doesn't fix the problem, it just stops your body doing it against your body's defence. And in time, what happens, because it has to be turned up, just like these drugs here, they maintain that incorrect breathing, so your body tries harder, and so you have to increase the pressure to force it open even more, okay?